And that starts with the head coach as far as preparing, and right on through the team, right through our goaltender, as far as just being better if we're going to find a way to win a series. And that's all I'm talking about, winning a series. This is supposed to be the Stanley Cup. We got to start thinking more aggressively and bigger and add more to our standard.
How do you look at this season as a whole, though? I mean, now it's been a couple days, or is it the ending kind of shading that? I mean, it was kind of an up and down deal. How do you look at the season as a whole?
Well, I thought it was obviously a different season than last year. I like the way the team handled themselves when we were going through some major injuries for 3 or 4 weeks there, where a lot of our top guys were out. We held our water and stayed about it. It's certainly a team, as I watched it, when we started gaining our confidence, starting with our top guys, I just saw our team take off towards the end of the year, and which we had to do to find a way to get in. I like our team. I like our personnel. But the biggest thing to me is we need to change our mindset here into where that we feel we belong in the playoffs, and not just be, and I'm not saying they were, but just we need to think stronger in how to find a way. And we had that opportunity this year. Against Pitt, although I felt we put in some good minutes there 2 years ago, we weren't in a situation where that close to winning that series. We had an opportunity, and I just felt a number of different things that went through our team affected us in trying to finish a series.
Do you feel like you guys took a step forward as a team this year, and how do you feel like some of the experiences you talked about, some of the adversity, can maybe help you get that first series win?
Yeah, well, all teams go through adversity through the regular season. Of course we. I thought there were some really good things that happened with our club this year, but as I sit here and talk to you, I don't want to. I think the satisfaction level can't be. We're a young team and we're going through the process. We're going to be young next year. There are going to be young guys coming to our squad next year that will probably make our team. That's what worries me when I keep on answering these questions about was it a good year. We played 6 games in the playoffs, 6, one more than last year. As I sit back and as management and coaches get together here in the next few weeks, we're going to talk about how there was some progression within our game, within the individuals. But we're 6 games and we're done. So that's what I want to get away from. I want us to be more aggressive in our thinking and expect some more, and not be satisfied as far as the process.
John, you've established a culture, you've set precedent making the playoffs a couple times, and this is kind of where it seems like where you're talking about it. Can it just be mentality, or does it have to be more to start getting you round by round in the playoffs?
We have to be better.
Yeah.
The players have to be better. The coaches have to be better. It's not enough. Everybody's excited, and listen, we've taken some steps in the right direction here. We make the playoffs now for a couple years in a row. It's going to be hell to make it next year. It's going to be hard. You see how hard it is to make the playoffs in this league. I just think I think we all have to be better, and I'm not going to sit here and go through each player but we have to be better. What we did this year was not enough. We played 6 playoff games. That's it. So obviously we're looking to do more than that.
On a personal level, any word on your contract situation? Have you talked to the team about getting an extension or anything like that?
No, I wouldn't talk to you guys about that anyway. No, I haven't even thought about that. We just finished 3 days ago.
John, Pierre-Luc Dubois was such a success story for you this year. at a critical position. The flip side of that is that job's not available to him if Wenberg or Dubinsky don't take steps back this year. Just how critical is that position on the ice, and what do each of those guys need to do to either get back to where they were or to reach new heights?
I think it stares at Wenny. I think it stares at Doobie what this 19-year-old kid did, and some of the situations he was put into. It's pretty simple. There it is, and I trust the character of the two players that you're talking about, Wenny and Doobie. Aren't happy about where they stood as far as some of the situations they were put in. I trust that they're going to use that as a little bit of pressure putting on themselves to be better. As we're talking with Tom, they have to be better, and then you have that's healthy for a team to want the ice time that kid got and deserved. That turns into a really healthy situation as we're trying to, as I'm saying to you, needing to be better as a team as we start next year.
John, Zach was injured for most of the year. He told us that the other day. You saw him close up every day. How did he handle that injury, and what can you expect if Zach Werenski at 100% next year?
Yeah, I give him a lot of credit for how he handled himself. It was a different year for him. He was put in different roles this year with some of the struggles that Jack and Savvy had, as we identified as the season went on. It put Z and Jonesy into different situations where they were matched up against top lines quite a bit, where the year before Jack and Savvy handled most of that stuff and it freed them up a little bit more. I think Z went through a really good process of understanding playing banged up, and I think he handled himself very well. As I always say, you're hurt, or you're sore, or you're injured. Z was kind of in between. He wasn't just sore; it was something that affected his game, but he tried to handle himself the best way he could. And he's got such a bright future. I think this is going to help him as he continues on here and understanding what it is to be a pro, and I think eventually can lend to other people that come in that are younger than he is about playing through some stuff. So I think that was a really good process he went through, and still put up some pretty good numbers. Does he have to understand the other part of the game and sometimes the battle and the competitiveness of it? Sure, but he still had to deal with quite a bit as far as, especially the injury that he had. That affects a lot of parts of your game, and we'll find out more about it here as we go through exactly how much what the injury actually is, and I think it'll settle him down mentally. That once he's fresh and totally healthy, I think his game gets to a whole different level.
John, this team is yet to win a first-round series. Is it talented enough, or does it need more?
I'll answer it this way: we were a good enough team to beat Washington this year. They found a way to win. We did not. We did not find a way to do the things to beat them in a 7-game series. And I'm not saying here, guys, that we imploded. When you lose 4 straight, it's like, holy crap, we just blew up. We didn't blow up. It was such a close series. We just did not make that big play or get that big save at key times, and they did. So I do think we were good enough to beat Washington this year. I think as the management group of the organization, as all teams do, all managers do, they're always looking to improve their team. So I'm sure that's what Jarmo and the guys upstairs are going to do. They're always looking to try to improve because every other team's trying to do the same thing. So it's a hard question to answer. Do we settle with this group? No, we're always going to try to improve. I see some kids within our organization. I think that's a very important way of improving, is staying within your organization in developing and grabbing roles with this team next year. I think that's how you stay competitive in the league, is within your organization. Not always looking to grab the free agents. It's developing your own people. And plus the young guys, they come in and have another year, and do they get better? So yeah, we're always looking to try to improve from within, and if it seems fit at certain times, if there's a free agent out there at certain times, that's when management needs to make that decision.
John, you played pretty well in the push to the postseason. Do you feel like you needed to take another step there after having that 10-game winning streak and playing as well as you did to get in? Do you feel like you needed to take another step there to get to that playoff level, or were you there when you started postseason play?
When we started, I thought we entered the playoffs in the right frame of mind. I think playing the right way. I felt Bob was much different this year entering the playoffs. I thought he was more relaxed and more confident about his game. So I thought we entered, win the first 2 games. Remember, Bob in Game 2, Bob stole that one for us in Game 2. But that happens in playoffs. You need that to happen eventually if you're going to stick around and keep on going. So I thought we started well. I don't think we played poorly in the playoffs. I just don't think we made that big play. Two of the biggest things that I think we really struggle with, and we're probably one of the most disciplined teams in the league this year. I think we were second or third as far as penalties. We took too many stick infractions, too many penalties against one of the top power plays in the league. I think our power play evened it off those first 2 or 3 games because we were scoring some goals as they were also. But then we faded with our power play, and their power play got better. Really important part of the series was the special teams. And as the series went on, and it's a huge point in playing playoffs, especially against an offensive team like Washington, I thought we lost our patience. We started turning pucks over. Odd man rushes started mounting in some of the games as the series went on. I think it was for the right reason, Dave. I think we were trying. I mean, you look at Brett. He tried so hard to put the team on his shoulders, and it hurt his game because it almost turned into one-on-one hockey at certain times. So I think we pressed instead of just keeping our patience and taking what the game gives you. I think that's really important in playoff hockey, is taking what it gives you. If you don't have a play, get it in forecheck. And I think that mounted on us a little bit. And so you asked, were we ready for playoffs? Yeah. And I think we are a playoff team. But for us, now it's 2 years, we have not gotten by the first round. We need to be better in playoffs and raise it to another level. And hopefully we'll get the opportunity to show that next year.
John, pretty indisputable that Bobrovsky was better in these playoffs than he's been in previous playoffs.
Yeah.
Is there still another level there that you need him to get to in big games?
Yeah, absolutely. And I do. I thought Bob took a big step this year in playoffs, but it's not good enough. And I don't say that in a negative way. I think sometimes we talk about that goaltending position. If you say anything about that goaltending situation, that it's, you can't touch that. He is part of the team. He is one of the players on our team. He does not fall into another category of, he's all set, we got to be better. He has to be better. It's the main piece to winning in playoffs. And I do think Bob understands that. I have a tremendous amount of respect for him as far as how he prepares. We don't have a chance to get in if he doesn't play the way he does. But I think 15 other teams can probably say that also as far as getting to playoffs. It's such an important position. But the next step for him also is to get that to another level. I thought he took a step in the right direction, but it has to be at another level if we're going to have any chance of succeeding. So don't write that as a negative way. It is just part of the game. It's not to run down Bob. He is a terrific goaltender, but we all have to give some skin here as far as being better if we want to try to become a team that is competitive in playoffs.
I think last year you went into the summer expecting the expansion draft to be interesting, maybe a couple moves here and there. Do you think the summer's going to be more volatile, more turnover just from the early conversations you've had with Jarmo?
You're going to have to talk to Jarmo about that.
And on that note,
I'd like to say one thing, and I know you guys jumped all over him and forced him to defend himself, which he should have, Calvi. That's a mistake on my part, how I put it the other day. I know I talked to Calvi yesterday. He said 10 of you guys just jumped right in on him when he came in as far as about that comment. That is my fault. I never should have put Calvi in that spot. Coach should never put a player in a spot where he has to defend himself with you guys. So he is, and you know how I felt about him. In the comments I made prior, he had a great playoff for us, and I have a tremendous amount of respect for him. I put him in a hell of a spot. So I hope you guys can understand that, and he deserved to defend himself the way he did. Okay, thanks, guys.
You resetting because we're not stopping. Oh, okay.
Sorry, I'm out of cap space here.
Start with anything or just take the question?
Take the questions.
All right, who's got the first?
Hey, Jarmo, when you look at this season, are you going to look more at what happened in the playoffs or kind of the season as a whole?
Our job here is to analyze and evaluate every game, every individual, how our team plays, systems, coaches, everything. And that's what we do all day, every day. And, you know, now we have too much time in our hands to do that and to kind of wrap up the season. And we've started doing that. We've had our player exit interviews. We've talked to the coaching staff. We're going to keep doing that process and then draw our conclusions and move forward.
Jarmo, you guys, we were just talking to John a second ago. You guys have set a precedent making the playoffs 2 years in a row. You've kind of changed the culture, which I think you wanted to do, but it hasn't been good enough in the playoffs. Do you feel that this team needs an upgrade at some of the talent if you're going to close the gap on teams like Pittsburgh and Washington?
We're always looking to upgrade one way or the other. I think that we're going to get better again from inside. I think our guys, Pierre-Luc Dubois had a great rookie season in the National Hockey League. I think he's going to take another step forward and be better. I think Seth Jones had an incredible season. I think he will be better. Healthy Zach Werenski will be better next year. Oliver Bjorkstrand will be better. Alexander Wenberg will bounce back for sure and be better next year. I think there are some big improvements in that group alone, and I'm sure I left out a few players that I could have mentioned just in that same group that are going to make us better, and they're going to upgrade our team, and we're going to be better because of it. And but we're always looking for every opportunity to make our team better. So it's going to be the same approach. Apologize if it's a boring answer, but we will look. I'll get into those conversations with the other GMs and see what they're thinking and how they might want to change their team, and we look at an opportunity that might arise and see that there's an opportunity. We never thought that Panarin would be available a year ago, and then all of a sudden that was in front of us as an opportunity that we felt that would make our team better, and so we never know.
Jarmo, you said it's your job to analyze everyone and everything. Could you analyze everyone and everything for us here today? No.
Be here for a long time.
Is it a priority? Can you talk about how you're prioritizing, one, your coach who's entering the last year of his contract, and also Panarin and Bobrovsky are also entering their last years of the contract?
Yeah, we do that. It's not that there's a certain date that we start talking about that. We have a 1-year plan, 3-year, 5-year, 7 years ahead. We're looking at some of these things when we sign long-term contracts. Look at the gap. Josh is telling us we're going to fit in with our salary structure. We think where the cap might go. All those things combined. So we're prepared for the decisions. We're just going to have to figure out some things and how everything's going to fit and see where the cap goes. And with Torts, he's got another year left. So last summer we were in the same situation. We had a great year. He had one more year left, and we arrived at a contract extension later in the summer, and now we're going to have to make that decision again. He's done a good job for us, and he's a good coach.
So it's your intention to extend Panarin and Bobrovsky before training camp?
Well, we haven't really even entered any discussions with their agents, so we'll have to hear what they have to say first. And hopefully there's a will for those guys to stay here when they could become unrestricted free agents. it's one of those things that when we have the guys with a little bit of a grab by the shoulder like we do with the restricted free agents, we use that, and then when they have that grip, we're okay. Well, 1 year from now I can go wherever I want if I want to, and then we either have to agree on a contract, or if they just choose that they don't want to play in Columbus, there's not much you can do. But we're certainly not hoping that's not the case with those two. But we haven't really entered in any of the discussions about that. We hope that everything get resolved, and both of those guys are huge parts of our team, but they're not the only unrestricted free agents that are on our team. So we're going to look at every situation and then make decisions.
Jarmo, what is the diagnosis on Zach Werenski's injury, and is it the same diagnosis as the one at the end of last year?
There's no diagnosis yet. We'll get the doctor's diagnosis in the next couple of days, and then they'll make a decision what needs to be done next.
Brandon Dubinsky was another guy that had a rough year. He talked the other day about, the summer that he wants to have, increase his speed. He had the surgery, all that stuff. How important is this offseason for Dubinsky to kind of put this past season behind him and try and help you guys out?
Well, I think it's really big. I think there are a lot of guys in our team for various different reasons that need a big offseason just to improve their game. It's the young guys. It's just as much as Brandon Dubinsky, but I'm confident that he will bounce back. He's a proud professional. I'm sure he's pissed off right now. I hope he is, and I know that he is. He wants to be better. He wants to have a bounce back year, and I think I'm 100% sure he will. And I think the approach that he's talking about to approach his off season is he knows what he needs to do. He's been around the block. He's been in the league for a long time, so he'll figure it out, and he'll do whatever he has to do to get better and be better next year.
One of the guys that you brought in that seemed to make a big difference late in the season was Ian Cole. And when you look at what Cole did, and Torts was just sitting here talking about when because of what happened with Savard and Johnson, it made your top guys have to play against top guys. When you look at what Cole did, is he a kind of a guy that you'd really like to bring back in here if you could, because he's obviously going to have interest elsewhere as well?
Yeah, he's one of those guys that, he's obviously a year ahead of the guys that we just talked about that are going to have that opportunity if they choose so, that if he wants to go to July 1st and see what's out there to weigh all his options and make a decision, that's his right. And there's not much we can do about it except to tell him that, we appreciate the job he did here. I was very pleased with the way he played from the first game that he came in with our group in the regular season and then throughout the playoffs. And he brought in not just the impact on the ice, but also off the ice. I think he was a great leader for us, and we expected him to be, because we knew him as a person, as a teammate, and as a professional. So those are all positives that are going to be, we know, and so there's not a lot of question marks with Ian Cole. But again, it's about talking to his representatives, seeing where they're at and how those things fit with our plan and our cap situation and the future of some of these other contracts that are coming up in a year. All that has to fall into the right place, but as far as Ian Cole as a teammate, professional, and part of the member of the Blue Jackets, we were extremely pleased.
Do you feel like with the rookie season Dubois had, do you feel like he's established himself as the number one center for this team, and where do you see Wenberg fitting in relation to him?
Oh, that's going to be a great competition for ice time again next year. I think just as Zach Werenski and Seth Jones are going to have great competition. I love it. That's the type of internal competition that you need to push people to get better. And I think that'll be an interesting one. I think that he established himself as a very good centerman in the National Hockey League this year, and I think he'll have to establish himself again next year. It's especially with Torts, as you guys deal with him every day, like I do. You have to prove yourself every day. You're not going to get anything for granted where all of a sudden, you can get away with a couple of bad days because, I established myself. That's not how it works. So I'm sure that Pierre-Luc, as a young guy, will get pushed even more to prove and earn that ice time and that role every day. And I think that's the best possible situation for us. And I'm 100% confident with Wenberg also that he's going to have a great year next year. He played through a lot this year with his injuries. There were a lot of painful injuries, real injuries that affected his game that a lot of people would not play through, and he did, and I give him credit for it.
Jarmo, would you like to, that being said about Wenberg, would you like to upgrade that position at center ice and maybe get Nick back to his natural position, to just bring in one more established center that could, obviously usually established centers can play power play, penalty kill, whatever, beyond second line or third line, whatever it is. Do you feel like that's a need when you look at this playoff run?
Well, we're going to look at all the options that could be available. I think it's a good luxury for us to have a guy like Boone Jenner that can go into center and play center, or Nick Foligno got more comfortable as the season went on to play center, rather than making a decision just to, okay, we need to get one more this, one more, but it's not really the guy that we feel that is going to be the right piece. I'd rather wait and if there's the right piece available or comes from within, like it did with Pierre-Luc. We didn't really know when he would be ready. We drafted him to be a center. I had conversations with Torts that I think I mentioned to you that we felt that I felt and the scouts felt that maybe in the second half of the season he'd be ready to make an impact, and we wanted to ease him into the league as a winger. And then he took off once we gave him that center position and just got better and better. It's hard to put that schedule on a young guy where, okay, well, I wish we could say that, okay, well, he's going to be ready on that date or he'll be ready at that time. That's our job. We try to project it that way, but for various reasons, and mostly the reasons are here, they don't quite arrive always on the schedule that you envision. So I think that, again, we could have something grow internally where we're going to have a center iceman come from within that, oh, well, he can fill that spot. Sam Vigneault, before he got hurt in the training camp, was playing, looking like, he's got a chance to make our team. Then he gets hurt, and he goes through a little bit of struggle in the American League, and then finally he started playing really good in the American League and gets hit in the head with a puck, and that was his season. So there are a lot of little things that can go the right way. We got the French center Alexander Texier, who played an excellent season first year in the Finnish Elite League, and what's the schedule on him developing into a National Hockey Leaguer? He's going to play in the Men's World Championship starting next Friday. Another big step for him. So who knows? They could take huge steps in 3-4 months in the off season, and all of a sudden come to training camp and whoa, this guy's ready, or you never know. I've seen it happen where you least expect it, where the guy comes into training camp like, wow, he's all of a sudden ready to make an impact. And I could go back in many different examples to say that. But Lucas Sedlak's going to have a better year for sure next year too. So we're looking to get better in that position from internally, and if it doesn't happen, we'll look for solutions from outside too. Every option.
Now the trade deadline, we talked a lot that you felt that you improved your team. Now that you've been able to sit back, were you pretty happy with the additions that you all made? I mean, you guys went from a team that we didn't know where you were going to end up to going on quite a nice run to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think we needed to add some scoring. I thought Thomas Vanek did a great job for us as far as adding some scoring. We gave us another guy in the power play, and as we had some injuries down the stretch here too, we needed that another NHL veteran to plug into the lineup, rather than going into the inexperienced guys that we had on our depth chart there further down. So he did the job that we expected him to do when we traded for him, and extremely grateful for that and appreciative. And I told him that, and I thought Letestu did a fine job too. Gave us some good minutes in the fourth line and took some important face-offs for us and killed some penalties. Ian Cole, as I mentioned, extremely happy with the way he played.
I asked this with sort of the Islanders and Jonathan Tavares in mind. How does it change for you if you get well beyond July 1st with Bobrovsky or Panarin, and there seems to be a reluctance on their part to sign extensions with you, knowing that you obviously don't want them to walk away a summer from now for nothing, but also wanting to keep those players?
Well, I'd rather not even think about that option. I hope that they want to stay. They're happy in Columbus. They want to stay. We have a good team. Usually that's a big part of it, too. I think that every good hockey player wants to play on a good team. I think we have a good team. I really do. I like our team. I think we have, in the last 2 seasons, there are 3 teams that won more regular season games than we did. And we played against 2 of them in the playoffs the last 2 years. We need to get better. It's not good enough. But last year when we fell down 3-0 in the Pittsburgh series, I didn't feel that there was the great trust in our ability to turn that around and win the series. I don't think there was a moment in this series that every one of us thought that we're going to win this series. That itself, I think, is a step in the right direction. It's not enough. It's not good enough, but I think it's a step in the right direction. The what ifs and buts and all that, we could go do that all summer long and kill ourselves doing it. But I mean, game 3, man, you gotta just get that. You gotta put it away. We had so many great chances to put that game away and take that stranglehold. But the ifs and buts and ands, they're endless if you want to go that route. But same thing in game 5. I thought we played probably the best hockey in the series in the 3rd period. We had them pinned in their own end and just couldn't get that one goal, and that's why they keep the score.
If you had to distill your reasoning about, as you analyze why you were once again beaten in the first round, how would you, Jarmo?
Torts mentioned a lot of the things that I think we have to be more disciplined. Definitely took too many penalties. There's no question about it. I think we have to be more disciplined as far as turning the puck over and giving a team that's lethal in their counterattack opportunities to do that, opportunities to play power play where they're one of the best teams in the league every year. I mean, we should have, how many times we play against Washington, should have known that every time you give them a power play, it's the longest 2 minutes of your life. So they capitalized on that, and our power play couldn't at the end of the series. It's a weird season. I think the first 30 games we were the worst in the league, and I don't even want to repeat the numbers that we had. But then the next 50 games we were very good. We were at 22, I think, to 22 to 24%. Or somewhere close to that for those 50 games, which is a good number and an acceptable good number. And then we started out well in the playoffs with our power play, and then went into that funk at the wrong time. And that's a big part of it. When you need that one goal, you gotta. The power play is gonna either win you the games or kill you, and it's both sides. Giving them power plays, giving them opportunities when you know that they have a good power play and not being able to capitalize. We had a power play in the overtime in game 3. Cam Atkinson hits the post, and we lose the game. And that's how it goes. The puck's got to go in the net one more time than the opponent.
Over here, a couple quick ones for you. First, Panarin, maybe a health update. There's a couple of reports out there that he sprained a knee. Can you confirm that and maybe just give us an update of how he's doing?
He had an injury in that game, and he played banged up in the playoffs, but that's it.
Then you mentioned some of the young guys earlier that you had kind of pointed out. Could you talk a little bit about Vitaly Abramov? He had another big year in the OHL, the QMH, the Q, and maybe Maxime Fortier as well. If you could just talk about those two guys and the seasons that they had.
Yeah, they, Vitaly, he can score, and we've talked about him in the year-end meetings, and there's one guy in our depth charts that can score. He scores everywhere he's been. Whether he can do it in the National Hockey League remains to be seen, but that's a guy that we should at least take a good look at, whether he can do it in the National Hockey League. He did it in the American League. Last year, at the end of the year, as a 19-year-old, he went to the American League and scored right away, point per game, in the American League for the short amount of time that he was there. I'd like to mention another prospect that we had a great year at Jonathan Davidson in Swedish League. It was excellent this year. I went to see him a couple times. Got top-end NHL speed right now, and he's 21 years old, so he's not we drafted him as a 20-year-old, so he's not your typical 18-year-old that you got to wait for 2 years before he even gets into the consideration of coming to camp or making the NHL team, any of that. He's 21 years old and played significant role on a Djurgården team in Stockholm, and had some very good statistics, and is a player that we think has a good chance of making our team next year. So those things, they always present themselves when we get there and comes to training camp, and we'll see where he's at. Because again, a lot of it is up here, not just you just see the difference between Pierre-Luc and a year ago in the training camp, or a year and a half ago, and this year. It isn't his skills or his physical. He was already 210 pounds a year ago. It was all here. The confidence level that he was able to get to this year, it just needed some time to mature, and he did. And he made a big impact on our team. And some guys do it quicker, some guys take some more time. And there are a lot of great examples around the National Hockey League that played 2 years in the minors and then became all-stars. And so everybody's on their own schedule, depending on what their maturity level is and how they go about their business.
Jarmo, John talked about how the organization has to take another step forward in terms of mindset, that you've gone to now expecting the playoffs, but now you need to think bigger and more aggressive. Is that exclusively on the players and coaches, or is that something management can have a hand in?
Oh, I think we got to be better as management too, and we're going to look at every opportunity to make the team better. We look at the facilities, the training equipment, everything, the food that we provide the players, and that's why we have that the high performance team, what we call now, with Nelson Ayat and Kevin Collins, and those guys are looking. We're trying to eliminate all the excuses so that the players can just concentrate on playing and be the best they can be, and I think that. We're in a good place right now. Can we get better? Absolutely, and we will. And we'll look at every opportunity to do that. There's no question about it. And it's just like Tort said. We gotta. The standard has to be to make the playoffs every year, and then we're going to be better. We're going to win a series, and we're going to win 2, and then 3, hopefully, and get to the Stanley Cup final. And that's the goal. We want to win the cup, so you got to win 4 rounds to do that.
Remember, we talked a little bit about Werenski, and there's not being a diagnosis yet. Year-end question here: do you have a list of guys that need post-season work or surgeries or such?
I don't have a full list yet. They haven't they've had their exit medicals and physicals, and with Mike Vogt and our staff, I think some of them need to get closer looks with the doctors, and before we can get into any of the conclusions. We'll have some players going to the Worlds, so those guys are healthy, and some others are a little bit banged up, but most of them will go away with just some rest, and some will need some more attention. But I don't have an answer to that yet.
Jarmo, you've referenced having to take that next step a couple of times, but from the time you got here until now, can you just talk about the progress that this organization has made? There was a time when the Blue Jackets were a perennial doormat, and I don't think that phrase is even thought about anymore in connection with this organization.
Well, I think the one thing we always talked about is earning respect around the league, and I think we've done that. I think that we've earned the respect of our opponents, but you can lose that very quickly too. So let's not take anything for granted here. We got to approach next year, the first game, the same way as we always do. We got to earn that respect every day, and That's the only mindset you can have in this league. It's so close, and every team's trying to get better. And Florida was out of the playoffs. They were playing some scary-looking hockey towards the end, and they missed the playoffs with, was it 96 points? I think there's the second time in the history of the National Hockey League somebody missed with those points. And when we were projecting about a month or 2 months before the playoffs, we were like, 93, 94, maybe you need 95, and then all of a sudden it's like, we might need 97. And that's a pretty high standard when you have to be 97 points in 82 games.
And we read that Panarin won't be going to Worlds. What players from your team will be going to Worlds, and is that something you want some guys to do, go and get some more playing time?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great experience for some of the guys. I think Nutivara is going to go with Team Finland. I think Dean Kukan with Team Switzerland. Ryan Murray and Pierre-Luc Dubois with Team Canada. Cam Atkinson, I think, is going with Team USA. So it's a good group of guys that I'm proud of those guys. I think it's great. I think it'll give them a chance to be playing meaningful games in May. And I told each and every one of them that we expect to play in May every year from now on, and hopefully in June. So it's good for them to get into the habit of playing some games in May. And it's a chance to win something. And I think that itself is something that I think every athlete that is a proud athlete, a professional athlete, should always be playing to win. And now we're out of the playoffs. This gives them a chance to win something. Yeah, he's going to with Latvia. Yeah, but I'm not sure if he's going on if he's a lock on the team or I'm not sure. But he is going over there too. The tournament starts a week from Friday. Yeah. I'll be there.
Thank you. He said he can just do something.